explaining Slaanesh to my girlfriend, the Warhammer 40k lore from NUMBSKULLS. I figured this would be a good choice because, one, I wanted an excuse to do more NUMBSKULLS explaining series. And also, as of yesterday, they just announced at Games Workshop that they're finally showing a 40k, not 30k version of a demonic Fulgrim, whose face kind of looks like it took a virus bomb to the face even. In fact, there's multiple faces that look like they took a virus bomb. I have no idea what Rhinelander would possibly have done that. So we're going to just pretend it was something really epic that I'm kind of hoping is mentioned here. Because that would make perfect sense, and I really hope it is actually mentioned, because if it's not, that's fine. Moving on, let's see where this goes. If you haven't already, there will be a link below to the video. I've seen enough about this NUMBSKULLS that I know it's going to be good, so I'm just going to leave a like in advance. Let's get started.
Hey, if you like these videos and want to support us, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/numbskulls. By supporting us, you get rewards like viewing episodes a week early, fun behind-the-scenes stuff, and more. If you'd like to learn more, please check out the link in the description.
Just a waving
Thank
Necron.
I am endowed with power.
This is my
Okay, we're starting there.
girlfriend. She knows nothing about Warhammer. I
Safe.
know some things about Warhammer. In this series, I'll be summarizing for her stories and lore from the
1, Pretty Marines, nice. 2, oh, it says Gay Pride. Yeah, you can do that. I think the other one was Total War. I think I have that game. I never really got to play it much.
grimdark world of 40k and fantasy.
Gay Wrath.
This episode will be covering Slaanesh, the chaos god of excess and pleasure, and their legion of demons.
And since they put this out, how long ago? Over a year ago. That's probably when they started doing a lot of the Age of Sigmar, also focusing on gluttony as well.
I'm bound to miss some details or might be completely wrong on some things, so if you'd like to learn more about Slaaneshi demons, I was recommended the Tyrion and Teclis trilogy by
Wait, really? Blood of Sword and Bane of Malekith. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen any of the old things. Wait, it's actually Tyrion and Teclis. I know so little about fantasy that I almost barely recognize these characters. Oh, Michael Hamilton, you need to dip and wish you luck on Epic? Don't worry, I'm going to need that luck and still fail.
by William King. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it.
Also, we're just going to randomly wonder right now, how many segments in this video are cut out and missing? Because it's Slaanesh. There's a lot of things that are probably not YouTube compliant.
My love, I have spoken with the Warhammer Council.
Uh-oh.
We have had long discussions about the manifestation of the Chaos Gods, which one came first, which one came into consciousness first, and we have found an answer.
When did you have time for this? We talk like every day.
The internet.
As soon as you get home from
I
work.
made time. I made time.
You made time when you weren't conscious or working? Mm.
Oh, I mean, no one actually sleeps. It's a myth.
Yes. I astral projected myself to speak with the council, and we have an answer of which god manifested first. Are you ready?
Okay.
Malal.
The answer is
Yeah.
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
The doc.
They actually made the Doctor Who reference. They even pulled up the clip. And as far as I understand Warhammer, yes, that is one of the accurate ways to say it.
No, just I believe because so many other people have different interpretations of which god came first, why they manifested first, and also it seems to vary between Warhammer Fantasy and 40k. So let's just go with the idea that all the three original Chaos Gods, Tzeentch, Khorne, and Nurgle, manifested about the same time, and they just argue about who is the oldest, because I think that's really cute.
Except for Slaanesh, who came in the latest, but also might have been there before, because time wibbly wobbly stuff is an accurate way to describe it. Normally, this is where I go into, actually. But the thing is, that is the best description I've ever heard of anything in there. What is it? It's whatever the fuck we say it is. Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I would think if they kind of came into being along with the feel.
I am 5 years old. I have the humor of a 5-year-old, but in reference to Slaanesh coming into being, I have no idea what the inherent joke of that would be. This is going to be a very challenging video, isn't it?
Feeling or existence or something of these different
Emotions.
emotions. I don't know. I wonder if some of these emotions are more human, although I don't know.
Possibly, but hold on to that thought as we talk today about Slaanesh.
Too spicy.
Mom.
Yeah.
Now, Slaanesh is the youngest of the Chaos Gods,
Except for when they're
as
not.
she was the last one to come into consciousness. Slaanesh is known as the Prince of Pleasure, the Lord of Excess, and she who thirsts.
Also, this is a completely incorrect depiction of Slaanesh. There's way too little censored. If it was accurate, it'd be way more censoring needed. Like, not even needed, but required by YouTube.
They're the god of pleasure, pain, self-indulgence, excess, and
Why
perfection.
are they gagging the
Damn.
thing?
Their pronouns are a/threat.
They're gonna make your pronouns was/were.
Yeah,
Accurate.
Slaanesh doesn't care what you call them because they simply exist. They have
So long
any
as you are
/ all
screaming
pronouns.
their name.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Like all Chaos Gods,
Accurate.
Slaanesh's influence existed long before she formed into a conscious being. She was birthed after a bunch of space elves had the wildest party in history. More on that.
Oh, yeah. See, this is going to be really interesting to me because I got a lot of information on the 40K side. But when it comes to the fantasy side, which they've already referenced with the Techless Tyrion stuff, I know nothing about fantasy. I know very little about it whatsoever. Most of my knowledge is just because I thought the what are they, the Malal, the Snake Ladies faction was pretty interesting because some of the models were awesome. That's about it. And I know it involved tearing souls out of a Slaanesh that they could physically tear things from in the Age of Sigmar variant, but that's not even fantasy then. So I am not going to be aware of a lot of this.
In another video.
Y'all keep being like, okay, so then this really interesting thing happened. But anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a
I
lot of the
wanna hear
fandom.
about the orgies.
That's
Not on
a
YouTube.
very complicated event that
So are most
deserves its own
orgies, I'm
video.
sure. But
Are
you know
they?
What? You've got a point.
but I'll concede. Let's continue.
I'm sure that's been said many times as well in certain circumstances. Oh yeah, this is going to be a very hard video. Oh, that's not the right choice of words. I'm just waiting for my wife to walk around the corner and just stare at me in absolute accurate disgust. And I'll deserve it at this point.
Do you like rock and roll?
I do. I have British heritage, so.
Do you like partying?
What did I just say?
Do you like doing wahoo in the bedroom?
Why the bedroom?
Sex?
I had to clarify
Oh.
that.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's the... Oh, wow. She didn't need to murder him with that one. That was the most disappointed I've ever heard someone. Oh, wow. Like, listen to this and don't tell me. It's like, oh, yeah, sure, that's fine.
Sex?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. No, I feel like we knew that Slaanesh and I were gonna jive. You know, like I'm pretty chill
You
with
pointed
religion
at a
in
picture
general.
of Slaanesh and said, "That's literally me" on several occasions.
It was the only one with titties. Like, what do you want?
That's fair. That's fair. So you like all those things? Great. Slaanesh approves. Do you like torture?
Oh.
Inflicting pain on yourself and others? Indulging in all things? Slaanesh
So, basically, he's the kind of person who likes going to the DMV. Everything I just said scares me, because there's probably someone who does that.
really likes that and thinks you should do more. Much more.
So she's into like BDSM kink community.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very
That-
much so.
Your voice there literally was like that, "Duh," like the foghorn sound effect.
Oh,
Don't
no.
compare me to a
Oh,
I'm
no.
just saying. It's not you. It's just the tones of your voice.
While the bad parts of Slaanesh are things like pain and torture,
Mind
and
break.
suffering,
Right.
she also
The
embodies
enjoyment of committing janitorial acts. Everything I just said is an accurate way to describe that, and I'm not going to go into more detail. Ever.
things like joy, happiness, and freedom of expression.
This is more up my alley. It looks like she's got a margarita there. See, this is my girl, you know? She's also protecting herself from the sun.
Just
We've
like
talked
me
about
for
this.
real.
UV ages you faster than anything else, my guy. So she's got
Yeah,
this.
it breaks down the
together.
cells.
You know, we're on the same wavelength. and I'm
Nom nom, you
into
scare
it.
me.
Now, the thing is, joy, happiness, freedom of expression, these things wouldn't exist if Slaanesh didn't exist.
Oh, okay.
But also,
That is heavily debatable. And also very much changes based on the age you're looking at with different fandom parts of it. What they're saying is one of the interpretations of Slaanesh, where they are actual gods who actually resent these things. Resemble, take your pick. And that is how they work. But also they've done a lot of other interpretations, especially in the Warhammer 40k side. Again, I don't know enough about the Age of Sigmar side to know if that's actually the case, where they are using the concepts of everything that they embody, but they are not actually responsible for them. So, the problem is Warhammer has not even Warhammer, Games Workshop, when it comes to almost anything they do, has this is true unless it's not, but it might also be. It is or it isn't. You'll find out when it isn't, but it is and it might be. Everything is true and nothing is true. They do not clarify, except for when they do, and even then they might change their mind. It's not even a retcon because they might be doing it intentionally wrong. And then they also retcon things because they decide things are working better in other ways, and they might have made a mistake on actually telling a story a certain way where they wasted a lot of plot that could be used to, do things. Looking at you, Indominus Crusade. So this is the interpretation for the longest time that the gods were actually gods. They were fundamental and maybe corrupted by the extremity. But then there's also the interpretation of the Chaos Gods as they are parasites who are profiting from these things that would exist independently of them. So if you remove Slaanesh, there would still be pleasure. It just wouldn't be Slaanesh benefiting from it. They're just the one benefiting from it. Now, it's complicated because then it's also the concept that they've shown sometimes of maybe gods will be usurped from others, different gods would take over, or maybe it's an ambient thing and another god would rise from it to take over what is now a free portfolio. And it just... multiple writers, multiple interpretations over multiple decades have made this as confusing as Games Workshop probably is okay with, because that does kind of go with the everything and nothing is true approach. Hi, everyone. I'm an English major who's kind of having an issue with an admittedly very good concept being taken to the logical extreme of whatever the fuck you want it to be can be fine.
torture and pain and suffering, that also would not exist.
Well, I mean, that's the whole dynamic. You know, you gotta have a Naruto and a Sasuke. You can't just...
Yeah, the Chaos Gods are the embodiment of these emotions. If they're gone, the emotions that make them are
Right.
gone as well.
Yeah. Right.
Debatable.
So, like, if Korn was gone, nothing would be violent.
Nothing popped.
Pretty much all violent urges would cease to be, but also things like honesty and glory and things like that would also cease to be.
Sort
Right.
of.
Interesting.
Sort of.
Gryffindors
What?
everywhere. Just...
What?
it's like it's like what in Endgame, everybody Thanos, you know, snap.
Yeah. Oh my
Everybody,
God.
but it's only a quarter, so it's just the Gryffindors. Everybody's like, finally, we can get some goddamn peace around
finally,
here.
those corn guys are gone. Oh, we're
Ugh.
and then everybody just starts lying to each other. It's like, maybe this was a bad idea.
But if they're lying, wouldn't that mean it was a
now
good
we
idea?
have to like be the first person to run into battle. This isn't as good.
Oh,
Although I guess there's
I
no
miss those
battle
corn
anymore.
guys.
But then I guess you
Oh
don't
my
just
God.
like
There is no battle.
starve. Because, like, unless you're, like, fully vegetarian, but, like, who does that? Like, I guess it's, like, you know, based on definition, how far down do these definitions go? Like, at what point does something exist because of one of these gods and or not? And I suppose kind of the issue with that is the issue with the entire explanation of these, I'll say, beings. Because they are so old and so intertwined, you know, there's so much nuance into what they are and what they've done that it's almost impossible to actually like pin down a specific term.
Yeah.
And considering they've already brought up the Age of Sigmar or fantasy side, that doesn't even get into the idea that in Sigmar, Slaanesh was explicitly captured and removed from being one of the big four deities and replaced by the Great Horned Rat. And I don't even want to get into that. He's like, also, I've exhausted my entire knowledge of Age of Sigmar lore right there. So all of that could be its own level of what the fuck, man.
And it's also impossible to really theorize what would happen if one of them ceased to exist, because it would probably be catastrophic to the universe at large.
Well, it's like thinking of a new color.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't.
It's literally
until you
impossible.
do.
Right. Even though we know in our universe that we see a very
There are
small
colors that we
spectrum
can't see.
of what there actually is. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind
normal.
you know, you can't
Sort of.
possibly know of something and like actually kind of like you can't conceptualize something really unless you already have the concepts that kind of like allow that concept to exist. So
Mhm.
I mean, of course, there are like, you know, super geniuses who are just like, here's what a black hole looks like based on math. And you're like,
Mhm.
what?
That's cool.
Yeah, we need to watch Interstellar.
Same.
It
Haven't
would
seen
be
it yet.
interesting if there was like if you could in one of the games or something, you could actually like kill one of the gods or something and like see how the world would change. That could be an interesting D&D kind of premise. Like one of the gods is killed.
That kind of happened with the Necrons, where they killed one of the star gods, and basically
Jax
that
Taylor.
caused the flare virus.
Jax Taylor? Oh, it's probably a joke about a friend of theirs. Who they made it the flare virus, someone with emo hair. Except the hair is literally flesh. I'm so glad they don't color these. This would be much more disturbing that way.
Which, that's the Necrons that wear people's skin and try to eat things.
Oh, like the Maze
Even though
Runner.
they can't really eat. Slaanesh is often depicted as an androgynous figure with long flowing hair, horns, and a serpent body.
Sephiroth.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's depicted as a creature that's too horrible to describe. Sometimes
Also
it's a gluttonous
Sephiroth.
figure. It really depends on interpretation. It's sort of like a primal in 14.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
one person will summon Ifrit and it'll look like, you know, what he looks like in game, but somebody could summon Ifrit and it would look like maybe more demonic, like
Sometimes
a
I
classic
summon him and he
satanic
looks
demon
like
or
a
something.
cute little minion.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
could be like a
that's the
cute little
thing.
minion.
Yeah, he follows me around. It's like a balloon. It looks like somebody tied an Ifrit balloon to my
Just an
ankle, and I'm
angry-
just like
I'm assuming that's the
running
Final Fantasy
around.
14 thing.
It's on fire.
I don't play.
I'm like, it's gonna hit the helium any minute.
The followers of Slaanesh
This is really good. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to ask what this is a reference to. I don't think I want to know.
start in the subtlest of ways, often starting with someone who has a overwhelming desire or an unquenchable thirst. Acting on these emotions feeds directly into Slaanesh's power.
And of course, pulling up a noise marine to do it.
Eventually, these sensations aren't enough, so they push towards more things like torture and untold suffering, and so on and so forth.
He looks like he's singing. Like, this is definite. We're back to the German opera. He's like,
Of course, a German opera as a form of torture is what they bring up.
The Imperium of Man has stated before that Slaanesh might be the most dangerous chaos god to the average person, and so they need to keep a very close eye on its citizens to make sure that those weekend parties are staying within code. Those parties
Honestly, to the average citizen, yeah, because their lives are so miserable. It's easy to find out if they possess Slaanesh corruption. They're suddenly not miserable. You know, I was going to make a joke about that, but in universe, that's actually a legitimately good reason. I wonder if someone's actually just done into a story where that's actually the reason. And because I can, actually, I'm going to say the word again. But I'm not going to do it again. Not again.
can't get too crazy, because then Slaanesh might just, like, you know, show up.
oh.
Like
Hey guys,
every
what's going
noble.
on? It's me, Slaanesh.
That's like Santa showing
Yummy,
up at
yummy,
the
yummy,
Christmas
yummy.
party, and it's like, who hired this guy? And then, like, you
Oh
look at the
God.
person who, like, hires people, and they're like,
Not
I
us.
don't know who this is, guys.
It's not good.
The Holiday Armadillo!
Slaanesh's relationship with the other
I'm sorry. What? What did I just...
is, guys.
It's not good.
The Holiday
Okay. I'm just not going to ask.
Holiday Armadillo!
Slaanesh's relationship with the other Chaos God varies a bit.
Oh.
She's pretty okay with Tzeentch because he's all about change, and what better thing to change into than a more perfect being? I mentioned last time that Slaanesh and Khorne don't get along at all.
Oh yeah, she's flashing him and he's just going, "Ah!" which admittedly fits both of them pretty well.
And that they disagree on basically everything.
Right.
Also
A
stealing
good example
perfection.
of that is where Khorne will go out into a battlefield and murder everybody in sight as quickly as possible. Slaanesh is gonna take her time, savor the fear, the pain that's inflicted, often taking prisoners and torturing them endlessly until they get bored or want to change their bodies into something that they deem more perfect.
Right. It's not about the result. It's about the
The overwhelming
happening.
experience.
It's about
yeah.
the pain, it's about the suffering, it's not about the killing.
Yeah.
So, now that we have a base for Slaanesh, let's move on to some of the demons.
Oh no.
Slaaneshi demons.
Oh, crab.
So these are
Yeah, crab.
demonettes. These are the lesser demons of Slaanesh.
Right.
They are very fast. Very, very fast.
Oh, they're like.
And,
They're like-
yeah.
Oddly enough, I've never seen anyone play Slaanesh demons. I've seen people who sold off really well painted armies, and they're held in stores as a collection that they're still willing to sell. No one buys it. And I think it's because the rules for them are just horrible for a while. And that might change now that Games Workshop is starting up a new Slaanesh faction. But at the same time, I've just never seen anyone play it in almost a decade now. Maybe that's just my area, but I just haven't seen it.
They
They're like that mount
sprint.
that you can get right now in the Moogle event.
What?
Which one?
The one where you guys always
Okay, it is Final Fantasy
Yeah.
14.
You guys always
Crabs.
you're always on it at the fucking in the house. All you
This is why I can't play Final Fantasy 14. I would literally just make the joke of, hey, you guys got crabs the entire time. Also, I can't stand the style, but yeah.
guys, I'm always standing there. I'm just like a weirdo without my thing, and then you guys are like, and I'm like, I can't do it
Crab
because I don't have
party.
crab, and I don't know how to get. Now I
Sorry, my apologies. Crab rave. Wow, I dropped the ball on that one.
can do it, and we can all be standing around the house going and scare
We gotta
newcomers.
get you that
I just
crab
hear
leg.
crab
Well,
rave in my
it's,
head now.
it's in the Moogle event. I have so many tombstones. That's what we're doing after this.
What?
Anyway,
Demonettes are
Why are
always
there tombstones
smiling when they're out on
Not
the
asking, nope.
battlefield, constantly looking forward to the pain that they'll inflict on their enemies. Typically, they ride on these creatures known as the steeds of Slaanesh. They're like if a velociraptor and an anteater got freaky, which
I
is
love them.
very on brand with.
Honestly, I just thought they were slightly less disturbing emus. I know what I said.
Slaanesh.
I love them. They are velococampi. Hippocampi,
they use their tongues
veloco.
like whips.
Yeah, they're like Kita.
It's not so fun when you're on the receiving end of it, though.
They have a
Yeah, they're like
snake?
Kita, kinda.
my
Oh,
baby
Kita's a
cheese.
good.
Kita just turned 2.
Did they actually put a birthday hat on a snake? Oh, that's cute and moderately terrifying.
She just turned 2.
Yeah.
It's a very big
Happy
snake.
Hatch Day. Everybody say Happy Hatch Day
Happy
to
Hatch Day,
Kita.
Kita.
Blah, la, la.
She says blah, blah, blah.
The last of our lesser demons of Slaanesh are kind of like
Oh my
if
God.
the steeds of Slaanesh and the demonettes kind of fused into one being. They are called the fiends of Slaanesh.
Oh.
They look real weird.
I like the little tail leg.
They've got like 2 sets of legs, one of which is facing the correct direction and one that's facing backwards. It's really weird.
Oh, so they can get anywhere real fast.
Oh yeah, they go.
They
like
go-
they're
they're like-
like zipping and zagging. In Total War, they actually like move throughout the enemies. It looks like liquid
Oh.
almost. It's crazy.
Oh, cool.
Their tails are really dangerous. Their tongues are really dangerous, like the steeds of Slaanesh. They've got the little grippers,
The little
as in like
Grippers?
their claws, not their feet.
They're not like chameleons where they do the cute little like boop 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 when they
The what? Sorry, I don't know anything about chameleons. This probably makes sense to someone. Problem with finding a chameleon is you gotta find them. I have no idea.
because
Blah,
they
blah,
could,
blah, blah, blah.
no the chameleon feet they like grip you. They got like 2
Oh, they
fingies.
do. Oh, you're right.
They look
they
like
do a
little
little grippy
leaf
grip.
feet, and they grab you. They're like, eh.
Are they describing chameleons or
very cute.
sloths?
I
Don't
like
cough too
chameleons.
loud or I'll explode.
No, they'll die
God.
if you look at them wrong. They're not.
Wait,
You
what?
Look at them wrong, they'll just perish.
I love chameleons, but I'm just not. I'm not down for that kind of
I'm
flight
not
risk.
down with
You know,
that.
life wise.
Chameleons have little bleps?
Now,
Oh.
the most interesting demonette that I found was known as the Mask of Slaanesh.
Ooh.
She was once the chief handmaiden and favored dancer of the Chaos God. Whenever Slaanesh was upset, this demonette would always manage to cheer them up with a little dance.
Oh, it's like one of those jewelry boxes that's like a good thing, and then suddenly it's in a horror movie, and I had one of those. I was too scared to use it.
One day, Tzeentch, being Tzeentch, tricked Slaanesh into fighting against both Khorne and Nurgle at the same time. You know, as a little prank. Just a little prank, little.
Hey
little,
guys,
like
what's
messing
up?
around.
On today's video, I'm gonna convince this guy to fuck up his life.
Could you?
This might just be my lack of knowledge about Age of Sigmar, but didn't this exact same premise happen with the favored leader of... Yeah, this happened to Scarbrand, and he got fucked over by Khorne because he was the favored son, and then he accidentally listened to Tzeentch pretending to be Khorne. Tzeentch just screwed around with everyone, didn't he? Including his own people. It's Tzeentch, that makes sense. Actually, this is more weird if it didn't happen.
You imagine if Tzeentch had a vlog channel?
What if what if all 4 of them had a vlog channel?
It would just be Logan Paul the entire time.
Like the entire thing was each of them are trying.
Makeup tutorial, drinking, Lord of Flies. I'm not something Kane. Life hack by Tzeentch. Clown. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. Big E, get buff. Red Magus, or Magnus, my truth. There we go. Because the Orc and Gork are down there. Teaching my son a lesson. Khorne. Oh my god. And he's actually just doing the slapping Scarbrand's ass. Oh my god. Why is that a thing? I don't even know. I don't. What? Why are just... Oh, I kind of want this now. Also, 17th Jedi, thank you for becoming a member.
And like, is that... Wait, this should be the TV show.
The great game is who can get more subscribers.
It's like Big
Oh,
fucking
no.
Brother. And like, you know, rather than like getting voted out, like the countries get like exploded from the heavens or some shit. Like, oh my...
no, they're getting influenced by their... Oh no!
Ugh. I would watch a 4-way game of Battleship between these 4.
It would be
Oh,
really
no.
interesting to watch, to see each of them use their own abilities.
Which one would
It's
stack
not about
all the
cheating.
ships
It's about
on
who
top
cheats
of
more.
each other?
Oh, that would be Tzeentch. Tzeentch would do that.
I feel like Slaanesh wouldn't even put the ships out. She'd just be
Nurgle would eat his.
sitting there giggling.
That's the greatest form of torture, seeing you try to guess where her battleships are.
Every time it's sploosh.
So, Tzeentch tricked Slaanesh into fighting both Khorne and Nurgle at the same time. Unsurprisingly, she lost.
Right.
She was really upset by this, and so, like always, this little demonette, the Mask of Slaanesh, tried to cheer her up. Slaanesh was in the worst mood imaginable at this point and saw this as mockery. And to punish such an insult, Slaanesh cursed the demonette to dance forever.
I'm gonna blow your mind. This is basically the plot of the Barbie movie.
Seriously?
No, that cannot be. That can't be.
It's not. You could make a comparison.
I mean, technically the shoes cursing someone to dance until death is an old style of horror. But is that actually the plot of the Barbie movie? Oh god. There's already the joke that Slaanesh is a Disney princess. Now she's actually a Barbie princess. Games Workshop is notorious, especially in the 90s when they created the initial lore, for stealing everything. I'm looking at you, Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau. There is a non-zero chance Slaanesh was an explicit reference to Barbie at some points. Maybe not the movies, because I think they came before the movies, but also I don't know that for certain. I'm not going to think about this. There's a line of madness that you should probably not cross, and I think we're at that line right now.
See it. America Ferrera is Slaanesh, confirmed.
Hasbro, I got the best idea that you've never heard.
Get Will Ferrell.
This was a year ago. How long was it exactly? September 18th, 2023. I don't know how long ago the Warhammer Magic the Gathering set came out, but Hasbro might be aware of this and okay with it.
What if Barbie
Immediately.
movie, but Slaanesh? Hear me?
Actually, Games Workshop would probably love that. They have crossed over a lot of things, and yeah, this is probably something that will happen.
Yeah.
Also, Elf 2, just cuz.
Elf 2. We gots to have Elf 2.
Wait, they haven't had an Elf
That's the
2?
chaser
There
after
isn't one?
you go and
I
see
thought
the
there was.
Slaanesh movie. Nowadays, the Mask of Slaanesh can be seen on battlefields, dancing and causing those around her to uncontrollably dance as well, until they are struck down by her graceful movements.
Oh, it's like Midsommar.
It's kind of like Midsommar, but she's
What?
just cursed to dance for all eternity.
She doesn't get to like make any party choices.
No, she just dances. Let's move on to the greater demons of Slaanesh,
Midsommar?
known as the Keepers of Secrets.
Oh.
So this was the other model I was considering buying for Alex instead of Bellicor, because I know he likes the Slaanesh stuff. They feed on the erratic hope and the intense fear of those that they
Copium?
face, holding the secret desires of mortals that they come across.
I heard erratic hope and thought you said cope. That's what happened.
Oh.
I am stealing this forever. I'm just going to say, oh yeah, the holders of cope. I don't care if it's not accurate. This is literally all I'm ever going to think about it again, and I'm never going to try and change my mind on that one.
That's what happened.
They Cope. Keepers of Secrets vary in appearance wildly, which is often influenced by what emotion Slaanesh was feeling at the moment of their creation. Much like a bloodthirster in Khorne's army, when a Keeper of Secrets arrives, give up. It's over. Not only are they going to be faster than you, they have an area of effect that seduces you, so you probably won't be able to do much other than perish.
What if you're asexual?
Well, they're described as being both too horrible and too beautiful to look away, and it causes people to stare in awe of the thing coming to cut them in half.
So it's not necessarily a sexual urge, it's just kind of an attraction, like
Yeah.
So it's like watching an oncoming train about to hit a tanker truck filled with marshmallow fluff, where that white shit's going to go everywhere. Yeah, that probably is exactly the right thing. It's going to be amazing and horrible in equal measure.
Yes.
okay, I understand.
You can't help but look at it.
Yeah.
The greatest Keeper of Secrets is a demon known as Nakari.
Oh?
Known as the Chosen of Slaanesh, the Arch Tempter, and the Lord of 1,000 Songs.
I don't know anything about this one. So either is Age of Sigmar or I just completely dropped the ball on the 40k side. Could go either way.
Nakari isn't super evolved in 40k other than showing up for a few battles here and there, so we're going to shift over to Warhammer Fantasy
Where
for
they're
a
probably
little
more
bit,
often.
as this is where he is most prevalent.
Ah.
Specifically, he is the main antagonist of the High Elves of Ulthuan.
Well, Othuan? Whoa. How? Okay, wait. Whoa. Where did his horns go? Go back.
His horn?
Like he's in this helmet, right? Is that him?
No, this is an elf.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I knew that.
I was like, where?
I knew that already,
It's
yeah.
like the freaking Vieira ears. You can't
Whoa,
wear headgear.
He digivolved into an angel.
I was
Oh my
gonna like
goodness.
voice act, be like, Othuan, Digivolve too.
The High Elves of Ulthuan lived on a peaceful island.
Are they whistling? Oh, they're all going, Oh, that's the face you make when you whistle. I'm saying whistle. Why am I saying whistle? Also, Kane Furlong. And in GL, that sounds like the original Snow White from the Brothers Grimm, and the Evil Queen was invited to her wedding and was forced to dance in red-hot iron shoes until she dropped. I wonder if that's where the story actually came from, or it predated the Brothers Grimm. Because I think I actually heard about that one, yeah. Huh. It's not familiar.
That was mostly isolated from the outside world. It was a paradise that knew no war and no strife. Nakari,
In
seeing
Warhammer?
a society of
Ooh.
elves that had no tools for war, was intrigued. Imagine being in Rivendell, right?
Yeah, this has given me very.
Everything's fine, everything's peaceful, you're chilling with your buddies.
This is fine.
And then
Man,
suddenly
that is no wait. Can I just stay there because that's where I want to be? You know,
Rivendell
Don't
was
make
pretty
me leave.
awesome.
Let's just stay. End the video. Let's just.
But
guys, support the Patreon so one day we can have peace. I'm really
So-
tired.
so imagine you're chilling in Rivendell with your pals.
Yeah, we're all tired.
And suddenly
Wow,
this
great,
Gashimuchi
everything's
demon
going
arrives on your doorstep
well.
specifically to slaughter you. That's what happened to Ulthuan.
Okay, it's at least cool, right?
Yeah, that would do it.
So the elves had no chance against the hordes of demons that Nakari brought,
Oh.
and a lot of people died, and if they didn't, they probably lived through horrible suffering and torture before they eventually did perish. It was
Demons,
a bad
man.
time for the High Elves. Let's just put it that way.
This isn't gonna help.
This was such a
Oh no, this is Warhammer. Nothing ever helps. It really doesn't. Oh yeah.
horrible time for the High Elves that this would eventually go down in history as the Rape of Ulthuan.
Damn.
Eventually, the High Elves did prevail when the first Phoenix King, Airier, blessed by the elven gods, managed to defeat Nakari. Before he could be killed, he tried to travel back to the realms of chaos and found that he was trapped within a magical vortex. Nakari cried out, swearing to take revenge on Airier and his entire bloodline.
Damn, that's a commitment. I gotta say, I was staring at this picture while you were saying that, and I thought he was a Kleenex.
You thought
Like, I
King
thought
Airier.
You know what? Now that she said it, yeah, it looks like he's wearing a tissue. It really looks like it's a crown tissue. She's not wrong.
Airier was a Kleenex.
Wielding like a stick. And I was like, where's the guy he's talking about, though?
Gotta blow him.
Kleenex here.
Honestly, there is so much about Nakari that I think it might be better to talk about it when we cover
they have their own
the
video?
fantasy elves in another video.
Oh.
Because, as I mentioned before, he is the main antagonist. So I think it would be more interesting to
Dude.
have him reserved for that kind of stuff.
Right.
We'll get back to Nakari when we revisit the High Elves of Ulthuan.
Okay, I won't remember the word Oathwan by then. I'm just gonna let
That's
you know.
fine.
Did they reuse the name Ulthron? Or is it spelled significantly differently from the Wardy way wide? Wow. I can't speak today. The 40K side, where that's one of the craft ships. Probably just spelled differently.
And that's Slaaneshi Demons.
Yeah.
How we feeling?
It's rocking. It's rad.
Mhm.
I'm not so into the idea of people, actually being hurt or hurting themselves or others.
Right.
Oh, I think you're in the wrong setting for that one to happen.
But without, on the other end of things, she seems great.
Other than all the bad stuff, I think she's
Seems
awesome.
like a
She's
California
radical.
local, she's just minding her own business. She's got some problematic opinions, but generally she she makes moral decisions that seem reasonable.
What would you say is your favorite thing about Slaanesh?
I mean, I like that she doesn't like the war guy,
You like that she doesn't like corn?
which I thought maybe that's controversial because
They
she's
compete.
your favorite. But what I mean by that is that war is bad.
Right.
And so it seems that, obviously with some exceptions.
But doesn't Slaanesh like war because they can be perfect at it? Oh, that's the joke of it.
My moral compass aligns closer to Slaanesh's than the other ones, to the extent that I understand them so far.
Well, the
It'll be
understanding
interesting
part.
going through the other Chaos Gods and seeing if that changes at all.
Yes, I'm also not entirely sure that I answered your question.
Nope.
What is your favorite aspect of Slaanesh? Like, what is the thing that draws you towards them?
I mean, initially, I think it's just the overarching, feminine presence in the aesthetic.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Because, you see it throughout the series. So, you obviously see examples of women in
Mhm.
other places in Warhammer, like the Sisters
you?
of Battle,
Oh, yeah.
or, the cool, fey, wispy, ghosty, alien-looking things that I'm always, staring at when...
Ghosty, wispy aliens? Eldar? What else could it be?
whenever I'm actually, at the physical locations.
Right.
But, the fact that, that an entire chunk is, largely associated with and, figureheaded by woman, or
Right.
at least feminine association, I think
Mhm.
it stands out the most to me, and maybe that is just because it's different. That said, I also have, I'm usually drawn to, Slaanesh is often very sexualized, and,
Yes.
For
and
intentional purposes, yeah.
paints that representation of sexuality as
Honestly, the fact that everything she's describing now is a very good representation of what the character is like by the actual lore, it always made me wonder if that's why Slaanesh never got any... Okay, this is a bad choice of words, but this is the best one. Never got any love from Games Workshop. I realize it's probably not the best way to phrase that, but it works. Because they were trying to be a little more marketable. And the god of fucking is probably not the best choice for that. Granted, murder, treason, and COVID are probably also not the best choices as well, but we'll ignore that.
As quite a sexual thing with like, you know, a bondage kind of like sexy, like push-up bra aesthetic, which, you know, it's going to be up to everybody to have their opinions on this. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it in this particular case. I know that there have been like particular models and stuff that I wouldn't agree is like great for representing women.
A lot of those models, though, have been discontinued and
Yes.
have been out of production for quite some time.
Oh, are they referring to the there's a few old models showing people in bondage. Let's put it that way, because the actual name of it might be YouTube non-compliant.
Though, to Games Workshop's credit,
Yes,
which is
absolutely. And that's, yeah, it's just, it goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, I guess, where we were saying that one of the things that makes it a great story, I think, overall, and I think you'd probably agree, that a lot of good stories are one of the things that makes them so good is like the foundation is so solid, the foundation is so built out that you can't peg a character or a concept down to a word. You can't define corn because the definition of corn is corn. You know, it would be like trying to describe your best friend in one word. Like, sure, you might come up with something like, hopefully it's not chaos, but who's to say at what point something is harmful or non-harmful or good or bad or whatever. Like, obviously it's quite a classically attractive based feminine aesthetic, and like, you know, I tend to like those kinds of aesthetics. Like, those are the kinds of characters I always like to play in video games. That's how I always used to like draw when I was a kid, or I always liked like watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show though as well.
So when she was a kid, her art style was Victoria's Secret fashion show. Okay. I mean, to be fair, when I was a kid, my art style was still and remains, I draw a stick figure of a person and people think it's a dead giraffe. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, but then it's like, well, is that the empowerment of my femininity, or is that the fact that I'm bisexual?
Why not both?
And so, you know, who am I to say, really? I think the answer really, truly would be that for some women it's fine, and for some women it's not. And how it affects them or their enjoyment of the property, it's going to be different person to person.
And in your opinion, you find something like Slaanesh to be somewhat empowering.
Yeah, for me, I look at Slaanesh and I'm like, yeah, bitch, let's do it. Like,
Right.
Right. Like, and I don't know, maybe some of this comes from the fact that, like, I am a, like, stereotypically not terrible looking woman, that I maybe have an ability to relate to that, and thus, because it's a powerful thing, because it's got this kind of, you know, a fourth of the universe in its hands.
I mean, I don't know what she means by stereotypically not looking. Most people usually have more than floating heads. Someone out there's like, Airier, you know she's a real... It's like, yeah, I get that. There's going to be at least one person when this video goes live in the comments who will write that. And the fact that it's probably going to be me writing to myself because I find it funny, I'm not going to comment on.
I see the association to myself and I grin, so to speak. You know, which maybe
you
that's
would be
not
tempted
a good
by
thing.
Slaanesh.
Oh, absolutely. I don't, and I don't think that is like, you know, again, who's to say at what point that is good or bad? But yeah, I think
the answer to that is the Inquisition. They are the point where they tell you it's good or bad, and they also always go on the line of it's bad, burn the witch or the heretic.
For me, at least, like, putting them down on a board and like give an example of 5 words each, the one that kind of piques my interest the most is going to be Slaanesh.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's also coming from a perspective where I can't relate to what you have talked
No.
about.
Yeah. But if one of the gods was like a nerdy twink,
I would probably gravitate towards that one, yeah. Do you have any questions about Slaanesh or their
Wouldn't that be Tzeentch by default? I don't think I'm making a joke about that one either. I think that might actually be the case.
demons?
It's changing, so
I
eventually
guess
change to that.
This must be one of the like most common ones to be influenced by, because it seems like, it really comes from a place of like base natures, in the sense of like, I don't like run into the feeling of, man, I'd really like to like get some skulls or blood or like start a war every day.
I mean, that's basically just called walking into the DMV.
Right. It's a lot easier to be tempted by things like joy and excess than it is like anger and murder.
Really, it's like
Road rage.
These things are already at your fingertips. Like, you have to eat every day, but why not eat more
Right.
than you need?
Why-
Like, the human
why
race
not-
has
why
to
not
have
enjoy it?
sex to procreate, but why not, get a little kinky with it?
Yeah.
And at what point, where is the line? The answer is, it's different for everyone.
But you know what you should do?
What should I do?
You should take that whip and you should really torture that guy. That's what you should do. Don't you want to hear his screams?
I'm going to tell myself they're talking in character still about Warhammer. Please do not correct me about this. I mean, hey, to each their own. I'm not going to kink shame. I will kink fear, though.
You're my partner. What are you saying? Are you asking for something? I think we should keep this private. Awkward.
Anything else?
Will getting into Warhammer make me happy?
A special thing.
No, it will make you poor, though. So that was pretty, yep. Also, Soul Rider, you're just quoting Epic the Music going, all I hear is screams, and all I can think is, yeah, there's a very different context right now as opposed to how you probably meant that, or how you meant that. Yep. Whew. So I now know a lot more than I was expecting about them. Nice. I think I have a blush right now. I'm so glad my wife isn't here at the moment. Oh my God. So yeah, the video about Slaanesh did exactly what a video about Slaanesh should do. Ooh boy. So for everyone watching right now, that was the Numbskulls. I love their series. I've been meaning to do more of these for a while, and I'm glad I finally got around to at least pulling one more out. And considering this is matching up with Slaanesh coming back into Warhammer in a very big way, in context, that's fine, but out of context, that probably isn't the right way to phrase that. I'm aware. Yeah. Basically, I'm really glad for the reasoning to see this and find out a little bit more about the fantasy Age of Sigmar side of Slaanesh, because I know so very little about that almost everything about it is completely new to me. And it's kind of awesome. Either way, thanks for watching, everyone. You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the video. Hit it up. The Numbskulls did a great job. And also, we're very open about preferences. Yep. That's fine. Yeah, this is fine. In the meantime, I'm going to cut this one here. I'll see you guys in the next one.